Ska vi se. Ja. Nu blir det ny stream faktiskt. Det andra spelet fan, alltså, jag vet inte. Jag tror man skulle hålla på med lite annat, men köra en annan. Nu vill jag köra det här istället. Jag vet inte vad det här är för spel, men vi ska se liksom. Kanske nice, ingen aning. Om jag bara kan få upp, ja sådär. Nice. Ja. Start. The lighthouse. What's coming to me? Ja.
Dear Esther.
The pass versus. Spelet kom inte fram, eller vad? Ja, jo det gjorde det. Okej. Nice. Kör.
The gulls do not land here anymore. I've noticed that this year they seem to shun the place. Maybe it's the depletion of the fishing stock driving them away. Perhaps it's me. When he first landed here, Donnelly wrote that the herds were sickly and their shepherds the lowest of the miserable classes that populate these Hebridean islands. 300 years later, even they have departed.
Vad som där? Ska vi se. Ja. Allting är helt förstört. Ja. Ja. Oh. Ja. Vad är det? C. Oh. Jag vet inte vad som är det här. Interesting, I guess. Massa färger överallt. Jag ska se. Jag går på promenad i alla fall. Ja. Alltså leder bara till stranden. Kan man springa? Nej. Jaha. Nej. Men riktigt vad...
At night, you can see the lights sometimes from a passing tanker or trawler.
Just
From up
det.
on the cliffs, they are mundane. But down here, they fugue into ambiguity. For instance, I cannot readily tell if they belong above or below the waves. The distinction now seems banal. Why not everything and all at once? There's nothing better to do here than indulge in contradictions whilst waiting for the fabric of life to unravel.
Ja. Vad för symboler? Hur långt kan man gå ens? Alltså,
Dear Esther, I found myself to be as featureless as this ocean, as shallow and unoccupied as this bay, a listless wreck without identification. My rocks are these bones, and a
Jag tror
careful
på
fence to keep
box.
the precipice at bay. Shot through me caves, my forehead a mount. This aerial will transmit into me so. All overexposed, the nervous system, where Donnelly's boots and yours and mine still trample. I will carry a torch for you. I will leave it at the foot of my headstone. You will need it for the tunnels that carry me under.
alltså vad gör han? Ja. Nu går man här liksom så här. Ja, trappor jag på. Ja, ska man säga alltså. Jag ska binda här liksom.
Reading Donnelly by the weak afternoon sunlight. He landed on the south side of the island, followed the path to the bay and climbed the mount. He did not find the caves, and he did not chart the north side. I think this is why his understanding of the island is flawed, incomplete. He stood on the mount and only wondered momentarily how to descend. But then, he didn't have my reasons.
Alltså inte om man ska vara framåt eller liksom.
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Alltså vi är vid spel.
We are not like Lot's wife, you and I. We feel no particular need to turn back. There's nothing to be seen if we did. No tired old man parting the cliffs with his arms. No gifts or Bibles laid out on the sand for the taking. No tides turning or the shrieking gulls overhead. The bones of the hermit are no longer laid out for the taking. I have stolen them away to the guts of this island, where the passages all run to black, and where we can light each other's faces by their strange luminescence.
Ja, men det går här liksom så. Let's see what this game is now.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life. I find myself increasingly unable to find that point where the hermit ends and Paul and I begin. We are woven into a sodden blanket, stuffed into the bottom of a boat to stop the leak and hold back the ocean. My neck aches from staring up at the aerial. It mirrors the dull throb in my gut where I am sure I've begun to form another stone. In my dreams, it forms into a perfect representation of Lot's wife, head over her shoulder, staring along the motorway at the approaching traffic in a vacuum of fatalistic calm.
What the hell? There's some händer. Jag antar att man ska ta en rollton. Fast inte färdigt.
The vegetation here has fossilized from the roots up. To think they once grazed animals here, the remnants of occupation being evidence to that. It is all sick to death. The water is too polluted for the fish, the sky is too thin for the birds, and the soil is cut with the bones of hermits and shepherds. I've heard it said that human ashes make great fertilizer, that we could sow a forest from all that is left of your hips and ribcage, with enough left over to thicken the air and repopulate the bay.
Känns free. Yeah. Det är som om man ska gå hitåt. Load. Finish chapter.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my ordnance survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome break services. But although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
That's väldigt confusing, så kändes det. Mot bilen i alla fall.
I've begun to wonder if Donnelly's voyage here was as prosaic as it was presented. How disappointed not to have found the bones of the holy man. No wonder he hated the inhabitants so. To him they must have seemed like barnacles mindlessly clinging to a mercy seat. Why cling so hard to the rock? Because it is the only thing that stops us from sliding into the ocean. Into oblivion.
Ja, man kan inte gå i gym så Interesting. Never saw it. Vi kan kolla vad det är fartyget har. Om det finns någonting här eller liksom. Om man kommer upp någonstans eller. Jag kan inte se det. Jag kan se det bara går någonstans. Jag måste hit.
I had kidney stones and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what Paul saw through his windscreen? Not Lot's wife looking over her shoulder, but a scar in the hillside, falling away to black forever.
Oh, det där är djupt alltså. Det är ett hus. Excellent.
I've begun my ascent on the green slope of the western side. I've looked deep into the mountain from the shaft and understood that I must go up and then find the way under. I will stash the last vestiges of my civilization in the stone walls and work deeper from there. I'm drawn by the aerial and the cliff edge. There is some form of rebirth waiting for me there.
Rebirth. Alright. Det är som en film eller på så.
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either.
Ja, det... Ja. Måste se. Armen. Tecknar. Eller något annat. Men det är samma formation eller så. Jag måste se. Med färger. Nu det där ska vara. Jag måste kolla det just det.
My heart is landfill. These false dawns waking into the still never light. I sweat for you in the small hours and wrap my blankets into a mass. I've always heard the waves break on these lost shores, always the gulls forgotten. I can lift this bottle to my ear, and all there ever is for me is this Hebridean music.
Jag kommer gå in. Vad göra? Ja. Så.
Jakobsen's ribcage, they told Donnelly, was deformed, the result of some birth defect or perhaps a traumatic injury as a child. Brittle and overblown it was, and desperately light. Perhaps it was this that finally did for him, unable to contain the shattering of his heart. In half-light, his skeleton a discarded prop, a false and calcified seabird. They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. All around him, small flowers were reaching for the weak sun. The goats had adjusted happily to life without a shepherd and were grazing freely about the valley. Donnelly reports they hurled the body in fear and disgust down the shaft, but I cannot corroborate this story.
Prästens kors.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggle back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Det är som man ska ner här. What?
From here, this last time, I have understood there is no turning back. The torch is failing along with my resolve. And hear the singing of the sea creatures from the passages above me, and they are promising the return of the gulls.
Alright. Ljus. Jag fattar ingenting. Vad är det som händer?
It was as if someone had taken the car and shaken it like a cocktail. The duff compartment had been opened and emptied with the ashtrays and the boot. It made for a crumpled museum, a shattered exhibition.
Vad ska framtidens? Den där känner jag. Men... Just det. Man går upp här. Wow. Jag måste ramla ner här. Vad är det för grottan så? Det där värsta eller det känns som att man typ det känns som att under vattnet och så typ alltså det jag är inte med men de hör det. Alltså vem har placerat de här ljusen? Ska vi se.
I am traveling through my own body, following the line of infection from the shattered femur towards the heart. I swallow fistfuls of painkillers to stay lucid. In my delirium, I see the twin lights of the moon and the Ariel shining to me through the rocks.
Det här är en dröm. Ja. Och så kan man lucid köpa. Här är det. Grogg-kopp eller någonting. What the hell? Jag går hit först.
This cannot be the shaft they threw the goats into. It cannot be the landfill where the parts of your life that would not burn ended up. It cannot be the chimney that delivered you to the skies. It cannot be the place where you rained back down again to fertilize the soil and make small flowers in the rocks.
Låt oss prova att öppna. Vad är det här? Någonting. What the? Nej, det här. Vad är det? Vad är det för spel? It's confusing us. Away from being någonting. Shall be jag kan inte läsa den texten så jag blev det ljusare i alla fall. Och simma igenom. Jag håller coolt ändå dessutom att simma. Man kan ju bara ramla ner i det man skulle göra. Vi spanar någonstans. Vad var det för bil också? What the? Under vattnet? What the? Ytan är fett högt upp. Som händer det. loading. Finish chapter the cave. Okej. Okay. Det är många chapters som har spelat. Okay. I see. We go final chapter. Oh, good one.
I sat here and watched two jets carve parallel white lines into the sky. They charted their course, and I followed them for 21 minutes until they turned off near Sanford and were lost. If I were a gull, I would abandon my nest and join them. I would starve my brain of oxygen and suffer delusions of transcendence. I would tear the bottom from my boat and sail across the motorways until I reached this island once again.
No. You can read. Vad är det? Det är som står lite.
We shall begin to assemble our own version of the North Shore. We will scrawl in dead languages and electrical diagrams and hide them away for future theologians to muse and mumble over. We will send a letter to Esther Donnelly and demand her answer.
Vad är det Esther?
We will mix the paint with ashes and tarmac and the glow from our infections. We will paint a moon over the Sanford Junction and blue lights falling like stars along the hard shoulder. Vad som finns här inne. Jag ska se. Bilder, däck. Okej. There were chemical diagrams on the mug he gave me coffee in, sticky at the handle where his hands shook. He worked for a pharmaceutical company with an office based on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. He'd been travelling back from a sales conference in Exeter, forming a strategic vision for the peddling of antacid yogurt to the European market. You could trace the connections with your finger, join the dots, and whole new compounds would be summoned into activity.
Lights from heaven. None around for the hell then. Typ. Jag vet inte fan. Men ja. All right. A light from... Jag vet inte. Som det här.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
Okay. What is this? No sudden light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. Och så är det ägg här runt för ingenstans. Alltså det ska ju vara som en... Den där båten att han snackar. Andra gången för trappan där. Där borta händer någonting annat.
I will drag my leg behind me. I will drag it like a crumpled hatchback, tires blown and sparking across the dimming lights of my vision. I'm running out of painkillers and am following the flicker of the moon home. When Paul keeled over dead on the road to Damascus, they restarted his heart with the jump leads from a crumpled hatchback. It took 21 attempts to convince it to wake up.
Alltså vem är det? Jag ska se.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
Okej, men vad med den här personen? Det var någon som stod effekt här. Jaha. Kanske ska utbyta något. let's go inward. Here. Perfekt alltså.
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
Vad är det som händer?
There are headlights reflected in these retinas, too long in the tunnels of my island without a bottom. The sea creatures have risen to the surface, but the gulls are not here to carry them back to their nests. I've become fixed, open and staring, an eye turned on itself. I've become an infected leg whose tracking lines form a perfect map of the junctions of the M5. I will take the exit at mid-thigh and plummet to my Esther.
Jag ser ingenting. Det där var det jag nästan skulle göra. Came to pass. Eller... we will go to see. Pass. Silverstone. Jag står på ett
He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all. He had not drunk with Donnelly or spat Jakobsen back at the sea. He had not careered across the lost shores and terminal beaches of this nascent archipelago. He did not intend his bonnet to be crumpled like a spent tissue by the impact. His windscreen was not star-studded all over like a map of the heavens. His paintwork etched with circuit diagrams, strange fish to call the gulls away. The phosphorescence of the skid marks lighting the M5 all the way from Exeter to Damascus. I am the Ariel. In my passing, I will send news to each and every star. Dear Esther, I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We've always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jacobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
Det var... Vad gör han alltså? En fågel.
Come back.
Så... Shattered the Beacon. Det var hela spelet. Right. Det var speciellt. Nej, men, hängde inte riktigt med i storyn, men det verkar vara så att många dog eller någonting. Och så... Jag vet inte vem den här Esther var, men... Ja. Ja, jag fattar inte helt heller, för det blev en fågel i slutet, allt det där. Men ja, det var ganska interesting liksom, att man gick där och så var det musiken och allting och så. Men, lite confusing då. Ja, det var deras då liksom. Ja, vad ska man säga? Like and subscribe ifall ni vill kunna stänga av här. Vad slutar nu? Kan man texten fortsätter? Okej. Han är... Vänta. Kolla igenom eftertexten. också. I guess. Men det var intressant. Det är konstigt spel det jag också kört. Så. Men man får... det ser man. Tänkte bara köra något snabbt spel då. Ja. Nu har jag haft det på datorn så länge så tänkte jag det är dags att köra det. Så var det. Men ja. Om nu så liksom lite subscribers så ses vi. Like subscribers så ses vi nästa video. Eller stream. Hejdå.